Good afternoon, I'm Daniel Miller and this is my podcast for Wednesday, 31st of March of 2021. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, squad mates and viewers on various platforms. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for watching our podcast and supporting our community on Twitch. Thank you also for your messages of support. I'm receiving a few messages every single day in response to my podcast, and that's really absolutely wonderful. I didn't really expect that there would be so many of you taking time to write, and I'm truly delighted, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a truly humbling experience because obviously we've had many broadcasts in the last 3 years, and this is a new format, a new concept which I introduced here to my channel, and it's been really embraced with force. It's been really very popular by all counts, and certainly if we are to be looking at all the messages, I think you also enjoyed our community-based discussion. So I think the podcasts are divided between what we get on the wire, i.e. what's industry-based news, and then news from our community and community-based content, basically questions, Q&A type of thing, and all of that's been very popular. I think I'm glad to see that some of our community members are learning about the new releases from some of my musings here, and that's wonderful. And also that people are taking up some of the tips and bits of advice that were given here, either by myself or indeed some of my associates, in order to run a successful Twitch-based channel. So that's really altogether grand, and I'm certainly very happy and delighted to have seen and heard and experienced it all. So today we'll be looking at several things. First of all, we'll begin by looking at the current games, what I'm doing live online, what are the games that I am indeed embracing. And I think first of all I need to say that I was really humbled to have received a message from Jeff Rubinstein today. Jeff is one of the main people at Xbox, and he presents his podcast with Larry every single week, which is the Xbox podcast. And Jeff talked quite a lot, literally for the whole year, about Yakuza series, and he was really trying to bring in as many new fans and followers as possible, because he himself was a bit resistant initially few years back, and then as he received a bit of a push from some of his other associates, he basically tried one of the games, and he was astonished by the quality and most importantly by the open world and its storytelling. So I've written to Jeff today saying that my journey in Yakuza series began yesterday. To be truthful, I did try Yakuza 4 on PlayStation Now last week, and it was just a fleeting look. I was just curious to see how actually Yakuza performed on PlayStation streaming services, because generally I'm not quite happy with some of the other games that I tried through PS Now, and it played well and it looked good, and I knew that my experience of Yakuza was going to be on remastered trilogy version, which has been recently released on Xbox Game Pass. And so I have the whole trilogy, and I can just start with Yakuza 3, carry on and proceed with number 4, and then go to 5, and recently we acquired even number 6. So really the entire series is pretty much there. I think bringing together more than 1,000 chapters of activity. Think about it, 1,000 chapters. It will take me probably a couple of years to get through it all, and considering that obviously do my streams and everything else, it will be a lengthy but rather enjoyable experience. So I went to Yakuza 3 yesterday, and I was astonished. I was astonished by the quality, the difference. First of all, the remastered version is so very much next gen. The graphics, the sound, the atmosphere, the open world, they all feel like as if they were made today, and everything in it is just like what Jeff said. A wonderful story, beautifully told, similar to what you expect in a television series. Then second, you have absolutely phenomenal dialogue, which you are connecting with at all times. It's actually very packed with dialogue initially. Then you have some great fighting sequences and an in-game tutorial. It just simply cannot be that you're not learning basically on what you need to be doing next. And then in addition to this, you're getting also wonderful razor-sharp, mouth-watering graphics of the characters as well as the exteriors. And I got to say, the cities I've seen in there were really incredible. They just gave this impression of a wonderful, very kind of energetic, big open world, which you are going to be exploring. And they also introduced lots of dialogue, which is attached to various NPCs as you're roaming the streets with various other characters, and that's really very interesting. But generally, when I compare Yakuza 3 with Yakuza 4 on PS Now, I should say Yakuza 3 Remastered compared to the old one, it's just a different ball game altogether. But liking the story, admiring the narrative, enjoying the battle sequences, and they're generally just soaking up everything that was there, indeed has been the very first experience of mine yesterday, and I played it for a couple of hours and really enjoyed it. I really felt, first of all, it's one of the first games I'm playing which is not dubbed in English, so I need to be reading subtitles, and that's fantastic because you're getting a real proper Japanese atmosphere in the same way as you would if you were watching Japanese crime films, which are terrific, and we have quite a few of them on BFI Player in Britain. So if you are in Britain, make sure you subscribe. You can do it through Amazon, or you can do it directly through the British Film Institute. You get quite a few of these films, and you will absolutely love them. They're just a true revelation. The way the way they sort of contrast the usual American-style crime films is highly worthy of note, and equally their storytelling, the environment, beautiful monochrome photography, frequently delivered in CinemaScope and Panavision, is just out of this world. So obviously, after having a lot of fun with Yakuza 3 and discovering that this is going to be my big new online gaming adventure, I've written to Jeff and I said, well, absolutely terrific, and thank you for introducing the game and giving us a push, really, to have a look at it, and specifically as the remaster has been introduced to the Game Pass. And he replied, and he said, well, thank you very much for the email, and thanks for joining the club. And I responded and just described some of my first experiences, sent him a couple of screenshots, and that indeed was that. But truly humbling to see that one of the key people working for Xbox, and certainly a public face of Xbox together with Larry, is indeed very connected to our community of Xbox ambassadors and gamers, and he will be responding to any messages that indeed come his way on Twitter. So I'd like to invite everyone in my community to do exactly the same, because Larry and Jeff are probably some of the nicest people you will come across in video gaming, and what they do live online is truly inspirational. I mean, honestly, I can't have enough of the podcast, and you have like more than 700 or 800 episodes that were delivered during the last 20 years. To be fair, Jeff has been participating in podcast during the last 6 or 7 years, but Larry was doing this right from the beginning as Major Nelson's Radio, and then it just evolved to an Xbox podcast, and it's a lengthy evolution process which it had, and I just find that the way they talk about everything that really comprises the everyday activities with their colleagues and wives and families, and then obviously most importantly with their everyday gaming and some of the business discussions together coupled with news, and just really inspirational. They can talk about something so mundane, so insignificant, and it will be delivered with passion and force and that sort of electrifying dedication to the cause, so to speak. They really love the games and they love what they do, and it just literally rubs off on you. You really feel it every single time I listen to this podcast, and it is so dynamic, so energetic, and so inspirational. So I really want to recommend it to you all. Most importantly, I want to recommend it to Sam, to Josie, to Josephine, I beg your pardon, to Bob, to Terry, to Ted, and all other community members who were writing and asking questions about how to run a Twitch channel and what to do. And I think if you were to be looking at the way Jeff and Larry do their regular broadcasts on the Xbox podcast every single week, you will get a very good idea of on how you need to be coming across if you want to be a broadcaster, and that will make a world of difference to everything that you do. I certainly have been truly inspired, and my podcast indeed had been directly influenced by the format and the the delivery that I keep enjoying every single week from the team. And also, as everything is archived on YouTube, I could just simply stroll back and entertain any of the other podcasts, because they're really very packed with news. Sometimes you just enjoy the delivery, at other times you're soaking up the facts, and when you revisit for the third time, you'll be listening to the interviews, and it's just really it's really mastery at work. And I really want to thank Jeff for responding, and indeed for connecting with me personally and my community. And I'll be writing more messages on Yakuza as we carry on. And so the other thing I did today was a bit of an admin day, and I've got to say that I don't have enough time generally to be posting various screenshots, and I've taken very many in recent times. And as you know, I changed my modus operandi with my everyday gaming. It's no longer just all connected with my streams, but I'm streaming certain games here live online, and then I'm playing also some of the games outside of my broadcasting hour. And that's been very, very enjoyable. It's been very different, because I find myself sometimes playing The Witcher and playing Skyrim Special Edition, and kind of talking to myself as if I was doing a broadcast, because after you've done it for several years, it just becomes part and parcel of what you do. And sometimes I find myself even talking to myself elsewhere as I'm thinking aloud about certain concepts and ideas. Excuse me, my voice has gone again. And that was a truly interesting experience. For the first time after I've been broadcasting on Twitch now for almost 3 years, I've gone back to the usual, which is doing certain games all by myself, and that's been an interesting experience, which also provided me with a degree of comparison. And I really had a lot of fun and a lot of joy through exploring some of the old games like Fallout 3 and Skyrim, which I played on the release, and then revisiting through Xbox their remastered versions and being able to connect with everything that they had to offer. So today I spent a larger chunk of my day selecting my screenshots and then basically presenting you through my Twitter a very large selection of the games that I'm currently doing. So they really have been presenting you with the screenshots linked to Fallout 3, the game that I've been streaming in here in order to introduce and celebrate Bethesda / Microsoft merger. Then we've had very many from Watch Dogs Legion, a game that I've been streaming through the whole weekend, and we had a freebie from Ubisoft, which I really thoroughly enjoyed and absolutely recommend the game to everyone. Then we've had quite a few screenshots from other games that I've explored, and they would include the Outer Worlds, then Outer Wilds, New Super Lucky Tale, Octopath Traveler, Genesis Noir, and Yakuza. So that's quite a selection. It's very many. The majority of the screenshots were attached to Fallout 3 and Watch Dogs Legion being the biggest games that indeed I have been streaming here on my channel. Always interesting to see how the community members are going to be responding, because what I like about screenshots is, let's say I've played Fallout 3 10 years ago, and then I see somebody else posting a selection of their own gaming screenshots, and I sort of revisit the experience of mine, and I'm quite curious to see what messages they posted, because what I do is my screenshot always has a message attached to it. It's a bit like a story, a bit of a narrative. It's connected to, well, partly the story of the game, but most importantly the story of my own personal experience of the game, and that itself is always providing me with some joy. And I remember from my media photography days where I shot many musicians playing live, and I had a drill through which I would always meet up with them before the sound check, and no photographer does that, you know. It's just like very, very unusual. And initially the musicians were a bit frosty. They thought, well, this is very private, we do not really allow people to see us sound checking. But for me it was an opportunity to see also how a band is evolving before the performance, and then I would document everything and take snapshots of they're getting their gear together, setting up their equipment, doing the sound check. Usually you have spotlights in there, so it's excellent lighting for you to take photographs of these musicians. And frequently when they get in a full groove, trying out 2 or 3 of the best songs, you look very, very good and you have fantastic pictures which you can use afterwards. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case once they get on stage, to perform, because there may be like really poor quality lighting or dim red lights, very, very hard to photograph in the traditional fashion. I think with the latest state-of-the-art digital cameras, it's become, more practicable. But when I was doing this like 15-20 years ago, it was indeed a different story, and I had to be really working with older cameras, with all the constraints of poor quality, very kind of low quality lighting, and therefore being able to blend the two together was always giving me an opportunity at least to have a few good shots. And going back to the overall experience. So by being there from the beginning, I was able to connect with literally everything, and then I would have like a narrative of that particular event, the way the musicians arrived, when they were setting up, they had a cup of tea, they had a chat, later they were in the changing rooms, afterwards they performed the show live on stage. All of that together indeed gave me a story. So it had its own narrative, and that narrative was extremely popular with musicians. The difficulty there was usually you would dish out maybe 2 or 3 photographs of the event, which are given to the musicians, to keep as a memory. And because the guys realized they've taken lots of shots, they always wanted very many. That posed all kinds of difficulties. And frequently when I sent them just 1 or 2, they were not happy. They said, oh, well, it's just not good enough, we want to have a big selection. And the trouble there is that if you're working for an agency, then the band does not have any access to any of the photographs, and you're not to be sharing this with anyone but the agency, and therefore the agency will communicate to the reps of the band, and that's the usual drill. But if you're an independent photographer, and if you're having your close connection or a direct contact to the musicians or the band management, it's a different story. So you can always build on that. But what I'm trying to say is, I learned through that experience that just doing the photographs is not necessarily good enough. If you have a document of the whole event, which will be obviously time consuming to process, you will be able to get that narrative through, and you will be able to attach certain comments, certain ideas to the photographs if you are publishing them online or presenting them in a photographic album style, which will be very, very interesting to everyone. In fact, I did a few times slideshows where there was no comments made, and people really got to know the band through a bit of the music and then the narrative of the images. I think that for me was quite an interesting experience, because a band playing live on stage is an audiovisual experience live, and in this instance you were having like a silent film, just a narrative where people were building the story about what this band actually is like out there. So I use the same model here, and that's what I will be doing even more as the days and months go by, because I feel that we have a very, very good level of interactivity live online when I'm doing certain games, particularly Destiny, Apex and Warzone. I'd say Warzone and Destiny more than any other. And we also have a lot of interactions coming in on emails, which has been great. So it's not live online, but it's still a connection to between myself and various community members. And then I also want this degree of visual contact to take place, because gaming is a very audio-visual experience if you're doing it on your own setup, and it is an interactive connecting experience coupled with obviously audio-visual if you're doing it live online. So being able to basically post lots of these screenshots is going to be of huge assistance to myself as a channel owner, content creator, and hopefully it will be also tickle some curiosity in those friends who are indeed watching and playing the games and then connecting with their own personalized experience as they're looking at the images. So just like to invite everyone here in my community to head to my Twitter and have a look and go to the screenshots and provide us with a comment or two and connect. Because what I do is I leave tags which indicate where the game was played, so it'll tell you whether it's PS4 or Xbox One. The tags will tell you basically what the game is, and also they will tell you whether you play them on the Game Pass or the PlayStation Now services. So it's very easy to find the information you need in order to access the game, if you, for instance, liked what you saw. I also posted a very good short clip of Max and the what's it called, the troubles of brotherhood, and this is a wonderful Microsoft game, also accessible on Xbox Game Pass, and in fact the entire activity was recorded by mistake, and I discovered it today, and it looked very good because it was a bit difficult to get away from the monster, and I, for whatever reason, made a clip at the very moment when I managed to get away from him. So I did try quite a few times, and it's quite entertaining to watch. So that's also there for you to enjoy. The next thing I'll post, I think most likely to be tonight or tomorrow, is going to be a selection of video clips that I've taken during our recent Destiny streams, and we had Sekapupu and Spurs participating, and there are some really truly delightful exchanges in there, be it with us dancing or doing some firefights or indeed doing some silly things, which will be highly entertaining. So you will find that very, very shortly on my Twitter as well. My Twitter is full of news related to the industry, to our community members, my associates, other streamers, as well as anything else which is based on our activity here. So it's a mixture of all sorts of information, and I have about 30,000 tweets, I think, on it already. And on my film dialogue, I have about 200,000 tweets. And so it's, very, very busy, and you'll get to know a lot about everything that's happening out there, and on all fronts, not just to do with my community, but also what's happening in the industry, what's happening with the publishers and the developers. You'll get to know about my own gaming experience through these screenshots, which is something I introduced recently in a kind of great quantity. I've always had them, but I've tried to make them more regular. And you'll get also information from other streamers and broadcasters who are connected to our channel. So it's quite a mixture, and sometimes, a bit like in this podcast, we'll talk more about the news, at other times be more about what we're experiencing ourselves as gamers, and again, we'll connect with other community members with the questions. So therefore the content here will be always quite vibrant, quite exciting, and definitely interesting. So let's have a look. What are the questions that we've had today? Well, I actually did have a couple of important news to tell you, and let me just have a look quickly at Xbox Wire, because there was one big thing arriving today. Just bear with me a second. And I just captured it before I went live, and that is I apologize. For whatever reason, I'm not getting it. So, hang on. There we are. Why is it that I can't see it there? That's ridiculous. I got my Twitter and I can't see it on Xbox Wire. What's going on? Really weird. The biggest news is that backward compatibility reaches the cloud and for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members. So we've heard from Jesse Ronald a little while back that they will be introducing many of the 360 games on their cloud services, and that indeed is going to be accessible to the public, I think, from today. So what they said is that there is a magical moment when you open up Cameo, an original launch title for Xbox 360, and it shows you last played in 2008, and you're able to jump right back into the game like you never left. There's also a sense of reward when you're able to go back and complete the whole of Gears of War series before starting on Gears 5, being able to take a trip down memory lane, either to relive past memories or make new ones with a classic, is delightful and critical to preserving gaming's history. We've enabled this experience through our backward compatibility program launched in 2015. So it's been around for a little while. Since then, we launched multiple consoles, and we are still committed to making games across generations available to you, no matter the hardware. So that experience I did have recently with Gears 1 and also with Fallout, as well as Skyrim, because I did play these games on 360 and I was able to jump in immediately and find out exactly where I was last, Fallout in particular. And for the purpose of our Bethesda celebration, we've gone through the new game, but if I wanted to catch up with all I've done before, I could just easily double click and I'll be immediately at the right place. So that's really hugely beneficial, and I'm afraid PlayStation do not have it, so therefore we are more inclined towards Xbox when it comes to golden oldies or reliving some of our great gaming experiences from the past. I've always loved the idea. I've used it from the day one and it's been truly beneficial. Also, the other thing is on PlayStation you got to be manually saving for the games that are non-multiplayer ones, and it's a bit fidgety. You need to go to one section of the console in order to upload the information, which is your saves, to the cloud, and then they will register once you re-enter. In this instance everything is automated. If you were playing the game on Xbox and you saved, the save is on cloud and then that's it. It's much easier and it's more practicable and it is more applicable to the libraries where you have thousands of different games in place. If you play like 2 or 3 games, it's not a big deal, but for us, the avid long-term gamers and collectors, it is a very, very big deal, and therefore we much prefer it. So today, they say, we're embarking on a new journey for the backward compatibility program, taking it to the cloud. So Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can now tap into a collection of favorites from the past in a whole new way right on their mobile devices, turning them into retro handheld game systems. Well, I want to try that today, in fact. I've spotted about 2 or 3 games that I played before, and I want to see whether it will work. 16 original Xbox and 360 games are now available on Android phones and tablets, with more games coming soon. Phil Spencer talked about that, and I personally am very excited about it because I think this is the best possible way through which we are going to be building our communities live online. It may not be the best way if you want to be doing PvP or FPS games. It's not designed for that. It's designed in order for people to connect and interact, right? So we'll have many more people coming in and they will be both enjoying the games, trying them out, and then later connecting with other streamers and gamers. So that's the purpose of you being able to access any game on any device wherever you are. So remember that. Tablets and mobile phones is definitely what is going to be very useful for you in order to access everything that's there. You will need to be a subscriber, obviously, and therefore you will be accessing the games you previously had, like for instance Dragon Age, Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2, Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, and the list goes on and on. So you are going to be able, once the games are included of course, to be able you are going to be able to access these games with ease on any of these devices. Basically, their creed. They say the future is on cloud. So, irrespective of the fact whether you have your console with you or not, you are going to be able to access the information and connect with your mates. So now you're going to be able to play a range of games on mobile, from original Xbox titles like Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. So don't forget, Morrowind is the game they introduced recently through Bethesda acquisition. So we already have it on console and Game Pass, and now we're getting it on Android. So I'm definitely going to try it. I'm very curious, and I think some of the older games will look better on a smaller handheld device, like for instance my Sony Xperia 5 II or my Samsung tablet. Samsung tablet probably the preferred option because it's neither too big nor too small, and the graphics will look a bit dense. And also, for the games like Morrowind or indeed point-and-click games, it's not a big issue. You'll be using the on-screen controls, and they will work perfectly well. And then you have also, in addition to Morrowind, 360 hits like Banjo-Kazooie, a fantastic game. I played it recently on Game Pass. Fable 2, legendary obviously. Fallout New Vegas, probably for many people one of the best that in the series. Also enabling touch controls for Jetpack Refueled, Viva Pinata and Viva Pinata Tip. Well, these games are not played, but the other ones obviously I know very, very well. And allowing you to tend to your garden with ease. So just go to your garden, pull your tablet out, and you can crack on. With games connected through the Xbox network, you're able to bring past saves with you and play along with gamers from around the world. Doesn't matter where you are, you'll be able to crack on. Existing Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can go back in time and start playing today. If you're not a member but you're interested in chipping away at your back catalogue and finally getting to that game you meant to play since 2010, you can sign up immediately and you will get either 1 month or 3 months free of charge, depending on the region where you live. and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate includes all the benefits of Xbox Live Gold, more than 100 games, they should say more than 400 games, no longer 100 games, on console, PC and Android phones and tablets via Xbox, cloud gaming, currently on beta, and an EA Play membership. All of that is included, so what you previously would have paid maybe £40–50 for, you're getting for £10.99. And as the number of subscribers and users is massively increasing, the prices are also dropping, and we are getting those very, very competitive, very compact packages. And I've been just loving it from the beginning, and I think it's just the very best way forward. I can't put into words how much I like Game Pass. It's just, it's so easy to download, and obviously for the biggies like Destiny, you'll need to allow a few hours for the downloads to be completed, but the vast majority of other games, which are fairly small in size, they download very fast, and you can crack on immediately, and you can stream them as well at no cost. Just that subscription cost that includes everything. It's a no-brainer. So if you're not there, what are you doing? It's as simple as that. You've got to be there and join our community. I look forward to seeing a proprietary communication platform, a bit like Discord, attached to Game Pass, because then that is where we are going to be getting people to connect. We have this on Xbox app, but they were changing a few things recently, and I felt overall that the message boards and other Microsoft forums are completely disjointed and really divorced from what we have here. We really need something which is fully on board, and like Facebook, if you are live, people can see you're live, they can connect with you, they can send you messages. They'll work it out. There will be something like this in due course. They had this hugely unsuccessful experiment with Mixer, and I honestly, for the life of me, cannot understand as to why they were investing in a company that was simply not able to deliver. It's, if you have Twitch as your major competitor, you stand no chance. You need to be excelling. You need to do a lot better, meaning your team needs to be greater. You need to have some, proper experts involved. And anyway, it's a story for another day. Backward compatible games playable with Xbox Cloud Gaming Beta from today. I'll read out the list. So if you are one of the fans of 360 and Xbox original games, these are the games accessible on the cloud, meaning through your Android and your tablet from today. Banjo-Kazooie, terrific game. Banjo-Tooie, a terrific game. Double Dragon Neon, not played. Fable 2, legendary. Fallout New Vegas, fantastic. Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, Gears of War Judgment, one better than another. Jetpack Refueled, touch controls enabled. Not played it, I'm not sure. Kamia, great game. Perfect Dark, legendary. Perfect Dark 0 as well. Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, legendary games came together with Bethesda last week, and you are going to be playing them live on your tablet for certain. I really think these are ideal games for the experiments, or for the first venture into xCloud gaming, because although they're old gen games, they've been remastered and polished up for the next gen, and they will look beautiful on smaller screens. I know that with the large screen like mine, I get a bit of a problem, with frame rate and with a kind of refresh rate that I get on my TV, but nevertheless, I think it will be just perfect. Viva Pinata, touch controls enabled, and Viva Pinata tip. So that is the big thing that I did get on Xbox Wire today. So tell me, oh no, I know what it is. I know what it is, I apologize. It is the biggest news on Xbox Wire, highlighted in green, and I didn't really see it because it's right at the top. We have some other news in there. A new champion arrives to unite the realm in the latest Paladins update. I think I mentioned a bit of that yesterday, and we've heard that she is Octavia the Indomitable, the newest playable Paladins champion. So she is the elite commander of the Magistrate's forces and has risen the ranks through grit, determination and iron will. She's the first to the fight and last to leave, and never abandons anyone in the heat of the battle. So Octavia is the latest damage champion to join Paladins, and is equipped with a DMR, a semi-automatic scoped rifle that can dish out high damage at mid and long ranges. At the start of a match, Octavia can choose between 4 different passive abilities that will give whole team a bonus, allowing players to make a tactical choice and will give their squad the upper hand. Well, don't need to tell you, Paladins are out there for you to download. Just have a look at Octavia. Chivalry 2 comes to Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S on June the 8th. This is a multiplayer first-person slasher inspired by epic medieval movie battles. You can pre-order Chivalry 2 and the special edition from Xbox Store, and you can obviously get then guaranteed access to the crossplay closed beta from April the 23rd to 26th. You see, this is a new thing. They're introducing closed betas for people who pre-ordered. I'm really not keen on that. I really want to have, in the present day and age, some choice, and considering we have streaming services, I will want to be trying the game first live to see whether I want to spend my dollar in order to get it. So it's a bit of a it's a model that works for some people, but I did see some of those betas being given to our communities and turning out to be very unsuccessful, because guess what, too many people came in and the betas didn't work. So people said, hang on a minute, so what's the actual reward I'm getting for pre-ordering this particular game? Well, anyway, down to you. It's a personal choice, and I certainly think if somebody pre-ordered, they need to be getting something, be it alphas, betas, or any extra skins, something else. Like the founder member edition, you name it. It definitely needs to be there. So, prepare to return to the ultimate medieval battlefield. Sharpen your sword and don your best armor. The long-awaited sequel to the 2012 smash hit Chivalry Medieval Warfare. Chivalry 2 is a multiplayer first-person slasher inspired by epic medieval movie battles. Players are thrust into the action of every iconic moment of the era, from clashing swords to storms of flaming arrows to sprawling castle sieges and a lot more. So if you pre-order, you'll be getting your access to the Chivalry Chivalry 2 crossplay closed beta, and that will be running from April 23rd to 29th for a full week. The largest playable portion of Chivalry 2 ever shown to the public, the crossplay closed beta will give players a massive preview of what they can look forward to once they obviously play its full release. At the center of the crossplay closed beta is the Siege of Rudolm, a sprawling multi-stage map that sees one team of players assault the walled city of Rudolm, while the other team defends it. So you have to be climbing the towers, capturing city walls, burning the encampments, etc., etc. You will know it. In The Witcher we have quite a few of these. The Witcher 2 in fact starts with one of those battles. And also the closed beta will have some additional maps and modes, as well as a lot more content to get your gauntlets on. Alright, so that is it as far as Chivalry 2 is concerned. As Craig Duncan talks backward compatibility and cloud gaming. Let me see. We have a big interview in there. I'm not going to be reading it, so if you're interested, you can head to my Twitter. The interview's there. Basically, Craig Duncan from Rare is telling us all about the games they're offering through the backward compatibility and cloud gaming. So very, very interesting. I'm very, very curious. I'm not ready to yet, so still for me to do that, but recommend it to everyone, because obviously we are talking about the biggest thing, which is backward compatibility. 360 and original games are migrating to cloud services from today. 16, I already told you, are already there, and he is the person who will tell you all about their games and the way the games, the same ones, are going to be performing through the streaming services. Introducing the No Man's Sky Expeditions update. We talked yesterday about this game here on my podcast. Our friend Deployman said that he wanted to come in and join us if indeed we were to be playing or streaming this wonderful space exploration game, and I said I really will keep him on the books because I need a dedicated veteran to show me the ropes. It's a very, very tricky game, similar to Destiny in that respect, where you need a guide in order to know what to do, because you do not have an in-game tutorial, and it's quite tricky. You can choose any planet and you'll face all kinds of threats in there. One of the most popular games of recent times that also had massive problems at launch. It did not perform technically or otherwise, and they spent about 2 or 3 years building the game yet again from scratch and provided some incredible content. So as it stands today, I've heard from probably a half dozen of my Destiny veterans, the game is simply truly awesome. It's a jaw dropper. you need to invest a lot of time in No Man's Sky, because it's a step-by-step game, and it will overtake as you indeed carry on with your exploration of the universe and the planets. The next update, No Man's Sky Expeditions, launches today and gives players a whole new way to explore together. If you are a returning player looking for a fresh start, or an experienced explorer looking to recapture the awe of your first moments in No Man's Sky, a new player wishing to join a huge community experience, then the Expeditions update should be a great place to jump in. So we have shared expeditions. Each one of these events starts from a fixed point in the universe, bringing the whole community of travelers together to embark on a shared journey. That's quite interesting. Don't know how this would work. Milestones and phases: progress through exploration milestones and earn rewards, meet up with fellow travelers, and experiment with new ways of playing No Man's Sky. Target Sweep Mode, a new extension to the analysis visor. Target Sweep brings a new element of exploration gameplay to missions. Use survey techniques and exploration skills to uncover mission destinations. Mission Overhaul: core and optional missions have been overhauled to include the Target Sweep mechanic, as well as many other improvements. Weekend missions: UI and HUD overhaul, balance and quality of life changes, rendezvous points, exclusive new rewards, season, cross-save rewards, bug fixes and performances. My good God, there's too many things to look at. It looks like the updates in here are just giving us all sorts of novelties, and I'm quite certain, well, it came from Sean Murray. He's the founder of Halo Games, the developer, and I'm sure that our friend Deployman and all of our Destiny veterans who are presently doing No Man's Sky will be absolutely interested. Like, I'm very curious about it. Shared expeditions, milestones and phases, target sweep mode, mission overhaul. You know, these are things to be done together within a community, and I need to investigate it further. I think if we are considering that in addition to Destiny we'll have Outriders from tomorrow on the channel, No Man's Sky will be probably a perfect blend together with Mass Effect Legendary Edition. We are going to be doing Legendary Edition once it's released, so get ready for a lot more space opera here on the channel. I know that we sort of divorced from it somewhat in recent months. We spent a lot of time doing Warzone in particular, and then we had PUBG and Apex, but space exploration, sci-fi, and wonderful distant galaxies and planets and universe overall are definitely the bread and butter of video gaming. And I loved some of the original games like Wing Commander and what's it called, X-Fighter, and all the games of the 90s, which indeed we were loving. And Daedalus Encounter was a very, very good one. The Darkness. Let me think what else. I need to really get through my list, because I have so many different games. G-Police, for instance, was a very, very good game on PlayStation 1. Was it G-Police? I think it was called G-Police, yeah. Oh, yeah, I could just literally go through the list and tell you all about it. We'll do that on another day. Not the time for that right now. Anyway, to summarize, we have this massive big update coming in for No Man's Sky called Expeditions Update. All the niceties I told you about already are included, and the game is accessible through, guess what, Game Pass services. So if you are on the Ultimate, what are you waiting for? Download and crack on. The last bit of news today is linked to Dead by Daylight, and All Kill chapter takes center stage, and we have some information here coming from Thomas Carpentier, and he's associate brand manager of the game, and he said, you think you know what a traditional Dead by Daylight chapter looks like? Think again. Latest release, we are taking a hard left off the classic horror highway to explore the world of K-pop, and while the colors may be a little bright on the surface in true Dead by Daylight form, that just means there is an ever deeper darkness lurking below. Creative director Dave Richard shares his thoughts on All Kill and pushing the boundaries of the game's aesthetic. So we have Dave Richard interviewed. I'm not going to go through all the things he said, but I'm curious to see, and I'm going to say this is quite an uncanny mixture, because I played Dead by Daylight. It's a very brutal, very violent survival-stroke horror game, and they've been importing all these nasty characters from some of the slasher movies and the very popular horror films of the last 2 or 3 decades, and suddenly they're merging K-pop with that. So I'm mesmerized. I want to see a trailer or some developer diary on this, and therefore I'll be able to tell you a bit more. Alright, my friends, so that's all that I have on Xbox Wire for you today. Certainly, we had also many more news coming our way through various other online hubs. I've got lots of these posted on my Twitter, so if you're interested you can have a look and read through the news. The biggest chunk of my inclusions today is actually my screenshots, and they're probably more than 100. I spent quite a bit of time selecting these, and they comprise all the games I've gone through in recent weeks. So it's Watch Dogs Legion, Fallout 3, to just really emphasize the two that appear to be the biggest and the best. And then we had the entire selection of other games that include Outriders, The Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds, New Super Lucky Tale, Octopath Traveler, a beautiful RPG just freshly included on Friday, last Friday on Xbox Game Pass. And then we have Genesis Noir, also joined the club few days ago. A beautiful game, I have to say. I looked at it yesterday. Just fantastic jazzy music as well, and really smooth graphics. And then most importantly, I've just started out my adventure in Yakuza, and that's Yakuza Remaster Trilogy 3, 4 and 5. Just a couple of shots there with that message from Jeff Rubinstein, who congratulated me on joining the club. Right, so what we are going to do now is we'll look at our community content and the questions that came in. I had a question from Jonathan, and Jonathan is in Newcastle. Newcastle is a city here in the north of England. Thank you, Jonathan, for taking time to write. Always appreciate it, and always great to see that some of our fellow UK gamers are listening to podcasts and, coming in with some suggestions and views. Jonathan says, I've been watching your channel for a while, and I really enjoyed your Destiny, Apex and Warzone streams. Warzone streams have been very, very busy, energetic, full of passion and full of funny dialogue. Well, thank you. I think I'll definitely pass the comments to the regulars, Buffos, Spanner and Spurs, the founding members of that TWBBC regiment. And great to hear that you're excited and delighted with our content and our ramblings, musings and chats live online. And they've generally been very, very popular, and great to see that indeed you're in awe of all that we completed. Jonathan says, I really particularly liked what you applied to the channel during the pandemic. Although you never said that you're running a channel that is dedicated to the kind of gamers fighting pandemic, but I really had a flavor that as a senior health professional who you are, you were also making sure that lots of people who are stranded indoors would really join forces, connect with all of your community members, and then become one large community together that is openly talking about the experiences. He said, unlike with many other streamers who are just absolutely focused on their own game, you have been bringing in people from all over the world to talk about how they felt about the pandemic, how they were managing indoors the entire time spent, and how they were connecting with other members of the online gaming community. He said, I think this is truly awesome, and I certainly want to congratulate you on your achievement. I really support your effort, and I also want to see maybe some other charitable runs and streams. Maybe you can be a pioneer in Britain who is doing this similar to what they have in the US. Jonathan, I'm about to cry. It's just that's extraordinary. Well, thank you for such kind words and so many compliments, and I'm very glad that you picked up on this. I didn't want to overemphasize gamers against COVID sort of thing, because evidently if you put hashtags like this and you do postings on Twitter, it could also take an uncanny turn, and I really wanted everything to be open to anyone who was, willing to join us and talk about their life experiences and the way they were sort of operating under the current restrictions, because obviously the restrictions were applied everywhere in every country on the planet, but we all were affected differently depending on where we lived. It's not the same if you're living in a tiny little village in north of Scotland compared to, let's say, a global capital like London, and we're all affected in very different ways, because in London you literally cannot go out anywhere. because you're scared that you'll catch the virus, and densely populated areas obviously are the highest risk. If you are, let's say, near Wick or Thurso in north of Scotland, Shetlands, the Isles, you probably can go outside and have some fresh air in your local park or in the local forest, but you're not to be mixing with other people. So, we had quite obviously you were a viewer, and you listened to some of our friends from Sweden, Norway, Finland, Holland, Germany, Austria, Italy, Britain, France, Portugal, Spain, Croatia, North Macedonia, Pakistan, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Iran. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. All of them talked about the way they were experiencing this dreadful, dreadful period of human history. And personally, I wanted to keep this forum open to anyone who wanted to talk. So it meant it wasn't just COVID specific, but it was there for people to talk about their worries and anxieties as well as the gaming experiences. And that worked perfectly well. I think with our friends who are in the regiment, TWBBC regiment, and some of other participants, we talked extensively about the way we felt, about the pandemic and all that's been happening in the UK. And I think generally, although this forum is not specifically geared towards any form of direct therapeutic input, so for us to get a therapeutic group together so we talk about each other's issues, we were here just to be voicing our concerns and sharing our experiences and views. And I certainly know from several community members who are presently playing Warzone, Destiny and Apex, that they really appreciated it. They felt very included, and they also felt the time that they otherwise would have had by themselves doing perhaps single player games was spent on a very interactive, highly energetic, community-based experience. And that's wonderful. That I love that, and I'm very, very grateful to all of you who are indeed here, and people who had supported us. Also, I did have a short charitable run last year, which was in support of British Red Cross, and sadly this charitable run did not have much publicity, therefore it didn't attract a lot of interest, because you'd appreciate for any form of run like that you would need external agencies to be basically advertising the event in order to get all the viewers to come in and contribute. And but it was an interesting experiment, and I personally, outside of this forum, support the British Red Cross, one of the original international charities that helped people who suffered in all war zones on the planet for more than 150 years. And it has been really a truly remarkable achievement through the dedicated works of doctors, nurses and volunteers, and all the respite and relief they brought to so many different corners of our planet. So it was definitely my first choice. But in Britain we are very, very far from what they have in America. When you watch streamers doing charitable runs, it's more to do with the way the system works. In America, the charities are absolutely self-dependent, and they have very little external input from city institutions or federal government or any other representatives of the government. That's quite different in here in Britain, and I think the overall system is significantly on a different level, and it will take a bit of time for the gamers and for members of online communities to kind of put two and two together. But on the other hand, we need a regulator. It all needs to be done under a centralized, orchestrated footing, in which we'll have considerable promotion applied in order to attract the viewers, and then also we need participants, people to come in to feel confident that they're supporting a good cause, and that all of that is well connected. So I'm very interested, and I want to be connected to other viewers and streamers who are also approaching the same subject, people who want to be providing charitable contributions, or indeed those who are willing to be participants, active participants live online. Maybe we can get some together, and that certainly is that's certainly on cards for the forthcoming period. So talking about anything between 12 to 24 months. I've talked about it quite a lot here with my US viewers, but it is difficult for me in Britain to be supporting let's say, a local charity in Tennessee or in Oklahoma, for obvious reasons. And if you're looking at a charity like Shelter, again, it's a domestic charity that helps homelessness in Britain. I need to really get a plan, and maybe I need to attend a couple of online or live seminars to get a structure together in order to do it. I'm certainly very grateful to Jonathan for raising the issue, because I really talked about it here quite a bit, but we've still not had any major fundraisers on the channel. I believe that there is going to be a very great need for charitable fundraising as the pandemic subsides. We are facing an unprecedented selection of economic problems that will also also include the issues related to housing, the way people live, benefits, and generally the way we are organized in local community, because we're expecting huge unemployment and many problems with trade, distribution, and industry overall. We also are facing challenges that will transpire as the result of exit from European Union. So many different issues are there to be looked at, and I'm prepared for everything. Really, I have no idea what will transpire, but I'm here to help and advise and connect, and the channel will be absolutely in sync and in tune with all these changes, and we are going to be providing whatever is necessary. I think most importantly, coming back to the COVID point, I'm feeling very grateful and satisfied, also privileged to have helped many people who were suffering under the pandemic during the last 12 months. I've done so through my channel, which was providing an open forum for people to come in, join forces with us, fight battles, and talk the talk. And on the other hand, I also had been personally involved in helping some individuals who had suffered from COVID, be it through the illness itself, the fact they survived it, or some people who sadly lost their loved ones. So I have a sort of a twofold experience, doing it online, either within this gaming format or indeed through my professional services. And the experience has been very difficult, but equally humbling, as I experienced quite a few of our participants live online being very forward and very open about the issues that concern them. And you would have seen that in our Warzone streams. We talk about extensively with a selected group of you who were very prepared to share the effects of this dreadful pandemic and the collateral they felt in their local environment, and the way they felt overall, the way the pandemic was affecting themselves. So altogether, it's been a very humbling, truly rewarding experience. I'll carry on as usual, and certainly hope to provide you with many more interesting sessions and many more great gaming live online experiences. Thank you, Jonathan. I'll still elaborate on this, I think, in another podcast, because today I'm a bit sort of inundated with the news and with screenshots and various other things happening. Also very happy to have heard from the Xbox team, who were congratulating me on joining the club of Yakuza gamers, and I'd like to invite everyone else to do the same. So thank you, Jonathan, for your kind words, for the appreciation which indeed I received. It's been great to hear that you felt supported and that you enjoyed our streams. Most importantly, you found our Warzone and Destiny streams to be full of humor and being very enlightening in these very dark hours. So that's terrific, and thank you for that. And I'll share your thoughts and views with our community members separately outside of this forum. I need to say that the new rules will be applied to online participation. This is in view of some of the changes that Twitch applied to their terms and conditions, and I think some of our members probably will not be very pleased, because I've seen the guidelines indicating specifically on how we can talk about certain subjects, and I'm personally not keen on it, but I'll have to be indeed adhering to it. I think the changes were probably applied in view of what's been happening in the US during the last sort of 6 to 8 months. But all the news on our online terms and conditions, i.e. if somebody wants to come in and talk live online, will be published both on my blog and also on my Discord. There will be a link posted to Twitter attached to the article that is going to be clearly displayed on my Gaming Dialogue blog, and you'll be able to read all about it. And I really have to ask everyone before coming live on air to be subscribing to it. I've had some issues recently with a couple of gamers who were perhaps unaware of the implications, as they usually play, with their own clan or the crew outside of Twitch streams and all this, and people get carried away if you're doing a competitive shooter such as Apex, PUBG or Warzone, and I understand that, but I'll have to be extremely strict and always have to enforce the terms and conditions. What really displeased me was when I've seen a couple of weeks ago the new pop-up on our video producer section. Video producer section is what you get if you're a content creator, so you get all of your videos, all your streams archived. There's a big one in there saying how many community strikes did you have, how many copyright strikes did you have. Very similar to what we have on YouTube, and it is going to cause me lots of problems because sometimes we have our participants discussing music, like for instance you drive a vehicle in Warzone and there's a hip-hop tune there that somebody recognizes and they start talking about this musician. Next minute one of the participants start playing the music of that musician on their mobile phone, which is then streaming live through my stream, and that's prohibited. I can get a copyright strike for that, and I can really be banned from my channel altogether, so I really have to make sure that people do not do that. I did have half a dozen incidents of that sort during the last few months, and I immediately had to disconnect my stream. But algorithms will detect even a split second of unauthorized music on a particular broadcast, and there will be immediate measures applied. It's extremely strict, and they had prepared already all of that in view of the new laws that are being or that will be introduced in the US, and you would have heard through various European platforms how they experience their huge amount of discontent in respect of the new laws, which will be restricting access to music and copyrighted material in European Union, and that will be obviously of great concern to many people, because the algorithms that Google and YouTube and Twitch will be using then will be able to detect immediately what music is indeed included in people's streams, past and present, and that will be raising eyebrows. And I want to warn everyone else, I want to warn all of our friends who are streamers and participants, don't do it. I've had some issues with YouTube related to my other hub, which is dedicated to film history, and I'm still trying to resolve it 2 years later. And I talked about it yesterday on my podcast. It's just the way it is. They don't have manned desks, and if people start reporting issues directly, and particularly if somebody wants to be malicious or malignant, then there'll be many issues at stake, and eventually the only way you'll resolve it is through the legal channels. Basically you need to contact your lawyers, and then you need to go through the proceedings, and eventually it'll be resolved. But it is very lengthy and it is extremely costly. So my advice to everyone is just make sure you read the terms and conditions and abide by the rules. It's as simple as that, because I don't want to have any issues on my channel. I do everything by the book. I'm very family friendly, and I make sure that I'm always aligned with everything that Twitch wants me to do. But that's not always the case with my participants. And I, as the channel owner, as the broadcaster, will have the ultimate responsibility. So sadly, these will have to be presented in the format as stated, and everyone will need to be abiding by these rules. So it may be sometimes that certain discussions will not be as interactive or as open due to this, specifically if they're touching on certain issues, gender for instance, or ethnicity, or cultural issues. We need to be very careful how we approach these, and we'll know from our discussions in general that we can be quite relaxed, and we can say certain things with good ideas in mind, but the algorithm, which is a non-human robot that is scanning the content, will perhaps think otherwise. Anyway, that's just one of the things I had to tell you. There will be a lot more on this here on my channel, and also on my Twitter and blog, so watch this space for more. So there we are, we've come to the end of our podcast for today. Thank you for watching and listening and supporting and being here, and thank you for being our valued community members. As always, I really thank Jonathan and Josephine, Rob, Sam and Josie for writing and for engaging with myself personally and our community on the Twitch streamer level. So we've had quite a few discussions here on that front, and I'm looking forward to have many more. So keep them coming, and also let me know what you think of Yakuza, or what you think of the Outer World. Have a look at those screenshots and try some of these games. Become one of us, become one of the Xbox ambassadors, and join forces with us in promoting ethical gaming here live online. We want our communities to be vibrant, energetic, happy, and always there for others who are in the need. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting my channel. I'll see you all tomorrow.